Hello, my name is Dr. Denise, and this is this week's A Dose from Dr. Denise, where I hope to teach, show, and inspire you how to release your God-given health and life potential. So we are starting to open the country back up. Countries around the world are starting to open back up, and this pandemic has affected the entire globe. In my lifetime, I've never seen it, and I'm pretty sure those of you that are watching have never seen this anything, how one thing has infected and affected our entire globe. And, this has been said in many different forms, but ultimately, history is doomed to repeat itself if we do not learn from it. And I personally want us collectively to learn from this and to change from this. And shame on us if we don't. No doubt another pandemic will come along, and no doubt we'll be able to handle it with much more grace as far as the medical system and PPEs and hand washing and face masks and all the things that we've learned what to do in the pandemic. But there's something more going on here, and I don't want to minimize this pandemic to we need to stay 6 feet away from people and wash our hands. That's important. But what's way more important is what we need to learn from this and how this earth is shaking, and there's this higher power that is just shaking us and saying, wake up, wake up. You're getting ready to shift. And I don't want to shift backwards. I want to shift forwards, and I want to grow collectively, but also individually. We each have to take responsibility for the change that needs to happen in this planet and on this planet. So for the next several weeks, that's going to be my theme. I've asked you before sometimes to share my messages, but I'm really asking you this time that if a particular message has meaning to you and you think it will have a ripple effect, please do share it. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is our health, okay? It's one thing that we can take personal responsibility for. Frequently I use the analogy that our body, our cells, our organs are very similar to the world, right? And so just like your heart is different from your liver, is different from your kidney, is different from your circulatory system, all these things are separate, and yet they must work together for you to function as a healthy organism. And it's no different with the world. We have different countries, we have different beliefs, we have different religions, and yet here we all are this tiny, 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 tiny little planet in this huge universe. And if we don't operate well together, then we'll get sick. A Chinese proverb says that no tree is so foolish as to have branches that fight among themselves. And it's no different with planet Earth. But the change has to begin with us and with our own health. It is critical. We are such an unhealthy nation. I am in the United States of America, and we're an unhealthy world, and that has to stop. So let's just talk about some of the facts of this COVID-19. The people that were infected the most and suffered the greatest were the elderly and those with elevated blood sugar. Those were the two things they found to be most common in the people that got sick. And the 5 comorbidities, the thing that was an underlying foundational problem for people that got sick, were diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, obesity, and cancer. So I'll say that again: diabetes, hypertension, cancer, obesity, and cardiovascular disease. And so are those things that you have control over? Yes. Yes, they are. Now, I recognize that take something like cancer. I recognize that there's an outside force, perhaps the environment being as toxic as it is, and there's an inside force. And the only thing that I'm in control of is my own choices. And so, when you focus on what you can do differently coming out of this pandemic, focus on what's in your control. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, specifically as it relates to your health. A lot of times I say to patients, I'll ask a patient, what's your number one asset? And of course, a lot of times they first think about, their bank account and the stocks they might have, or the business they might own, or, any material possessions you have. But the truth be told is your number one asset is your health. Ask anybody, right? Or any family member of someone that passed away with a ton of money in the bank after this pandemic. Your health is your number one asset. And ironically, in this pandemic, people have lost trillions of dollars of the financial type of asset. We have lost a ton of money. And rather than looking at it as losing money, let's say that we have spent a ton of money on this pandemic. Now, I don't know about you, but when I buy something and I spend a lot of money on it, then I want to get something out of it. I want to get value out of it. So shame on us as a country and as a world if we spend all this money on this pandemic and we don't learn and we don't change from it. We must not go around this mountain over and over and over again. And so what do you have to do? You have to look at your health like a bank account. In fact, I often call it your HSA account, your health savings account. Not the account that you put money in and you pull out for your co-pays and for medical expenses, but your health savings account. You have a daily health savings account. Have you eaten well? Have you gotten your fruits and vegetables? Have you taken your supplements? Do you drink plenty of water? Have you eliminated toxic substances from your body, like alcohol and drugs that you're consuming to excess? People are dying, thousands and thousands of people are dying from addictions, needlessly so. You know, do you have a family meals? I mean, think about the gift of the family meal that this pandemic has given us, that we sit down with our family and we eat a healthy meal together. That's an incredible side effect of this pandemic. Are you getting a good night's sleep? Are you sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night? Do you have some wonderful health care doctors in your life, like a great chiropractor, like a holistic functional medical doctor, like an acupuncturist? Do you have people in your life that are going to instruct you and give you guidance on how to live the healthiest life possible? Now, the purpose of this particular post isn't to list out all the things that you can do, because guess what? You already know what to do. So I'm going to ask you to do it. Make a list of all the things coming out of this pandemic that you're going to add and the things that you're going to remove to be as healthy as possible. I want to take responsibility for my life and for my health. And when you break down that word responsibility, it means able to respond. For those of us that made plenty of deposits in our health savings accounts, we went to the gym all the time, or we worked out at home, we ate healthy, we got adjusted, we got massaged, we shut off the external noise, we prayed, we meditated, we took our supplements. Then 99% of you were able to avoid a serious illness with this COVID. You might not like those facts. They might be presented differently on the media, but the truth is that the most unhealthy population, and unfortunately the aging population, which is also very unhealthy, are the ones that succumb to this disease. And so I'm going to put my effort in the things that are within my control, not on things that are outside of my control. So of all the things that we need to learn about this pandemic, you must take personal responsibility for your health. It's your number one asset. And for those of us that didn't, we suffered tremendously. And not only do you suffer, because I always say dying is easy. Dying is really easy because I know what's happening after this life and I think it's pretty cool. But it's the people that stay behind that suffer when they lose a loved one and then have to take care of the ripple effect of what happens when someone dies. So please share this message. Our health is so vastly important. What are you going to do to be as healthy as possible following this pandemic? It's essential. So have a great week. Start to think about this as we start to reboot up our country. It's going to take several weeks, and so we still have time to really contemplate things that we must learn so that history doesn't repeat itself from this pandemic. Peace out, and I'll see you next Sunday.